Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the October 19, 2015 Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission meeting. Roll call, please.
Commissioners Asatrian, absent. Fuad, absent. Kalfayan?
Here.
Michaels?
Here.
President Wu?
Present.
At A, the agenda for the October 19, 2015 regular meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall on or before Friday, October 16, 2015. Item 2 is upcoming council agenda items.
As President Wu, members of the commission, at the present time, we don't have any agenda items scheduled for the City Council between now and the next commission meeting. However, on the 17th, on November 17th, which will be the day after our next meeting, we will have two action items under a joint City Council Housing Authority meeting. One will be the Continuum of Care homeless funding application, which we submit to HUD every year, and that's for about $2.5 million. And we would ask the City Council's approval and authorization for us to submit that funding application to the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development. And then we will also have a Community Development Block Grant Program proposed annual funding allocation plan and program priorities for the approximate $2 million that the city receives for social service and community capital improvement projects. And we would be asking for the City Council and the Housing Authority's approval to issue requests for proposals to receive funding applications for those funds. So that'll be on November 17th. And right now, that's all that we have scheduled.
Thank you, Director Duran. Next item, please.
Next item 3, introductions and presentations at A, recognition of cruise night sponsors.
President Wu, members of the Commission, the 22nd Annual Cruise Night was held on August 29th of this year on Brand Boulevard. And this was the third year that the entire event was funded by corporate donations and sponsorships and car registration. We had a total of $53,770 in donations, sponsorships, and car registrations. And we'd like to thank our sponsors for sponsoring the event. Today in the audience, we have the Glendale Police Officers Association, Officer Chris Krivek, present, Rafi Vartanian from LA Injury Group, and Mike Cholakian from Carousel Restaurant. If it weren't sponsors like LA Injury Group, GPOA, and Carousel, the event would basically be funded through the city instead of sponsorships. So we'd like to thank our sponsors for sponsoring the 2015 Cruise Night, and hopefully they'll be with us next year, 2016, July 16th of 2016 of next year, for the 23rd annual.
Good afternoon. Thank you. So if I may, I would like to just read for our viewing audience a certificate of appreciation. The Community Services and Parks Department and the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission recognizes our three sponsors standing behind me for its sponsorship of the 2015 Glendale Cruise Night. Your sponsorship and support was a significant contribution in keeping this Glendale tradition alive and thriving. Dated October 19, 2015. Thank you very much. So I know this is. There you go, sir.
Thank you again to our sponsors. A full list of sponsors will be on my PowerPoint presentation later on during the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item, item 4, Commission staff comments.
No comments. President Wu, if I may.
Please.
I'd like to update the Commission on our security company status. As you remember, several months back, we came to you with the action item allowing us to contract Alpha Omega Company for park closures and our security that they were conducting at the Civic and ARC. Well, that contract was to terminate at the end of the year. We went out to bid through our Public Works Department into a new RFP process, whereas a security company would provide services for Glendale Water and Power, library sites, as well as park sites. We incorporate our 26 parks that need to be closed, as well as the ARC and Civic into the mix. The winning award went to Cypress Securities. We are currently finalizing some of the loose ends with Cypress Security. They're supposed to commence on November 1st. They've agreed to meet with us early on to do the little tours of the parks, identify what needs to be done, and we, as a matter of fact, have that meeting scheduled tomorrow. So at the end of this month, October 31st, we will no longer have, after October 31st, Alpha Omega will cease their operations. It will start a new contract, a 2-year contract with Cypress Securities with options to renew every year for 3 more years, up to 5 years. That's a brief report. We can get more details later on for a commission, if you like, as far as what the costs were and how things break down for our facilities at a commission, an actual item for you later on for an on file in the coming months.
I have a quick question. So would
Yes,
the
sir.
renewal be automatic? Will they just kind of automatically roll over, or would it be up for review and then come before our commission for continuance?
The Commissioner, President Wu, the first 2 years are automatic because that's what we got into contract through council approval via the RFP. The following years after that, each year, it would be with, we'll be meeting with the departments and see how pleased the departments are, Public Works running the RFP, the contract, along with GWP Libraries and Parks, to evaluate and see how this company has been conducting themselves and producing services. If we all feel and agree that that is the way to go, we'll come back to you to recommend a continuance of that contract for another year. Although it is through the RFP process and 3 departments have to agree, it will likely be a note and file, more of an information basis that here's what we have coming forward and an update on what the status has been of the contract. That'll be 2 years from now.
Thank you very much. Next item, please.
Sure. I actually have a few announcements, if you don't mind, President Wu,
Sure.
members of the commission. We have several events that are happening between now and our next meeting. I'll run through them very quickly. On Wednesday, October 21st at 3 p.m., we have a CDBG Advisory Committee meeting here at the Council Chambers. On Friday, October 23rd, from 5:30 p.m. to 10 p.m., we're offering a teen night out at Pacific Community Center. On Wednesday, October 28th, at 7:30 a.m., we have a Homeless Continuum of Care Board meeting, also here at the Council Chambers. On Thursday, October 29th, 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m., Club Maple is offering a Halloween party for their participants at Maple Park Community Center. On Saturday, October 24th, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., we have a teen bullying workshop offered by All for Health, Health for All at Glendale Heritage Gardens. On Saturday, October 31st at 10 a.m., we're having the first flag football championships for our youth sports program at Pacific Community Center. On Wednesday, November 4th, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., we're offering a free fair housing workshop for property owners and managers at Pacific Community Center. Friday, November 6th, 5:30 p.m. to 10 p.m., we're having another teen night out at Pacific Community Center. And also on November 6th, from 6 p.m. to 12 a.m., we're having a parents' night out at Pacific Community Center. Sunday, November 15th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., martial arts class entitled An Introduction to the Bow, the 6-foot staff. That's taking place at Brand Friendship Garden. On Monday, November 16th, 2:30 p.m., we're back here for another Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission meeting. For more information, the public can call 818-548-2000 or visit www.glendaleca.gov/parks.
Thank you. That's an action-packed month.
Yes.
Next item, please.
Next item is item 5, oral communications. I don't have any cards. Next item is 6, consent items. A, approval of the minutes of the commission regular meeting held on September 21st, 2015.
Okay. I will move the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay. And I'll take roll call. Commissioners Asatrian, absent. Fuad is absent. Kafayan?
Yes.
Michaels?
Yes.
President Wu.
Yes. Next item, please.
Item 7, action items. At A, Verdugo Skate Park Annual Report and approval of a new skate camp program structure and corresponding registration fees. At 1 is a motion selecting and approving a new traveling skate camp program structure. And at 2 is a resolution either increasing the existing traveling skate camp registration fee or eliminating the existing traveling skate camp fee and establishing new fees for the registration in Grom's Skate Camp and Shredder's Traveling Skate Camp.
Good afternoon, President Wu, members of the Commission. I know that is a very lengthy item today for the consent, and so I'll break it down into 2 parts. The first part that I'm here for today is a skate camp Let me start over. The first item I'm here for today is the skate park overview report. I was scheduled to come here today and give you a program evaluation on the skate park as a whole from October of 2014 through the end of September 2015. It does overlap with a consent item that we're bringing, so we've combined the two reports together, and that is a motion about our travel skate camp and some fees associated only with the travel skate camp. So first thing I will talk about, and I apologize, I don't think I introduced myself. I'm Gabrielle Golia, the Community Services Supervisor with the sports program, which includes the skate park. The first thing I will talk about today is the review of the Verdugo Skate Park. We have been operating year-round from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Saturday, and 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Sundays for the past year. Please note there was a mistake in the report on the hours of operation. They are listed slightly different in the report, but it is 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Saturdays, and 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Sundays right now. During the summer months, we are also open daily from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Friday and 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. That corresponds with the Glendale Unified School District summer break. The first thing I'll talk about with the overall report is our financials. Financially, the skate park operates out of both the enterprise fund and the general fund. In 2012, funding to the skate park was reduced, and the city determined that entrance fees would be charged to help offset the cost of staffing the park. We did conduct a survey at that point in time. We caught every single person who came into the park during the month of July of 2012, and we asked everyone to fill out a survey before they came in. Approximately 75% of the people surveyed responded that they wanted to pay an entrance fee and have the park staffed rather than have volunteers run the park or have it unstaffed altogether. So at that point in time, we did move forward with recommending, and the commission approved some entrance fees associated with the skate park. This year we spent $40,375 out of the general fund. This is not a fiscal year. We're talking about the operating year of October of 2014 through September of 2015. And the reason we choose that year is because October of 2012 is when we started charging fees, so that's when all of our structures changed. So our reporting period for this purpose is that time period. We did spend a total of $71,761 in the enterprise fund in the same period, and 88% of those costs went to staffing. And during that period, we generated $38,518 in revenue. So the enterprise does operate with a loss of a little over $33,000 annually. The department does realize a profit in the enterprise fund each year in other program areas, such as the sports complex. And these other programs support the losses in programs such as the skate park. Because they're important programs, the public wants to keep the skate park going and they want it staffed. The department continues to operate at that loss and covering it from our other programs. The programs that we offer at the skate park are drop-by programming. Last year, in the past 12 months, 5,900 individuals entered the park. That is a duplicated number. That's how many entries we had. The average daily attendance based on that is about 17, which is about the same as it was the previous year. And we netted $12,535 in entrance fees during that period. The Community Services and Parks Department purchased and installed a new recreation software for our entire department back in March. And the new software went into effect on April 1 at the skate park. We did have to upgrade our computer and our network there, so it took a little bit of time to catch up with the rest of the department. But it does allow us to collect more detailed information. So from April 1st through September 30th, we were able to note that 296 unduplicated individuals entered the skate park. Of those, 63%, which is 185, were youth, and 91% of them, which is 269, were male. So we now know that we have 63% of the participants are all youth, and that the majority of everyone coming in is male. We will continue to monitor this information. We'll bring you more next year when we have a whole year's worth of information to give you, and that can help us with our marketing strategies and also some of the programs that we're able to offer to the kids there. In addition to the drop-by programs, we also offer skateboarding classes, Friday Night Lights. We make the facility available for film permits. We have an International Go Skateboarding Day celebration, and we offer the travel skate camp. Our classes are offered on Saturdays and Sundays. at or immediately prior to opening for the day. Those are our beginning and intermediate classes. And then we also have drop-by classes that are offered in the afternoons throughout the week. You don't register ahead for those. You can just show up. They're $20, and you can join a class, first come, first serve, up to 5 kids for some semi-private skateboarding lessons. And then in addition to that, we also offer private lessons and semi-private lessons at an appointed time. You just have to talk with the staff at the skate park. Friday Night Lights is a monthly program that we offer on the third Friday of the month. Kids are invited to play video games, hang out on a Friday night, and socialize in a controlled environment. Parents can drop their kids off at the skate park, and they're supervised, so they know it's a safe place. Film permits are available by appointment with a permit. We began doing this in 2005. We do close the skate park down for a film permit for the most part because most time film permits last all day long. And we don't budget for film permits because it's an unpredictable source of revenue. They come to us. We don't really recruit them. It's whenever they have something that needs to shoot at a film park, at a skate park. June 21st of every year is the official International Go Skateboarding Day. So we take a chance to celebrate that, and we have a competition for the kids free of charge. They get to celebrate it, and we get prizes donated by the local skateboard businesses here in Glendale and in La Crescenta. Now I'm going to shift a little bit. I'll talk about the traveling skate camp because this is the portion of the report that will have to do with the motion. We do offer a skate camp, and it started in 2008. We offer it for 4 weeks throughout the summer, and the camp runs from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily. Parents pay for 1 week at a time, so they can register for all 4, they can register for just 1, it's up to them. And right now the current fee is $215 per week. This is primarily a specialty camp. We have found, talking with the parents, that they're not using it as much for child care. They're using it as an enrichment opportunity for their children. The camp is run out of the enterprise fund portion of our budget. During the week, campers get to travel to other skate parks throughout Southern California. They visit a theme park every single week, like Magic Mountain or Raging Waters, and they go swimming at Pacific Pool. Based on the current approved fee of $215 per week, the minimum enrollment to break even for this program is 12, and the maximum enrollment because of transportation restrictions for us is 14. So it's a very small window of success for this camp. The last time we raised the fee was in 2012. Due to the increased rates for the staff, the benefits, the gas, the van rentals, the theme park admissions, that's why our minimum is so high. It didn't used to be this high in 2012, but all of our fees have gone up, and so that's where we've hit this point. In 2015, this past summer, we did have an average attendance of 13 kids in the camp. We had a waiting list a couple of those weeks of camp, but then when people withdrew from it, the waiting list didn't really pan out. So we had some weeks where we were at full capacity and some weeks where we were at 12, the minimum. The camp is staffed with 2 people at all times. The staff do drive the kids to and from all the excursions in a city vehicle and also a rented van from Enterprise. Other full-day camps in the area for traveling skate camp are much more expensive than ours. They range in price from $299 to $595 a week. So we are definitely lower than all of the competition. That being said, there's not a ton of competition for skate camps. It's really a specialty camp, so there's only a handful offered in the area. The $595 price is, we had to reach all the way up to Berkeley to find a camp that was similar to ours, and they don't even travel. So this summer we were able to run the camp without cancellations, but over the previous couple of years, we did have to cancel due to low enrollment. So in 2013, we canceled 2 weeks due to low enrollment. And in 2014, we did cancel 1. So that means that approximately 20 kids were turned away from 1 or more weeks of camp. And our main goal with changing and providing options to this camp for you to review and consider is to lower the overall minimum enrollment needed and allow the camp to operate a little more consistently. One other thing to note is that in 2015, we did turn 2 kids away from the camp because they were beginner skaters. so they weren't advanced enough or skilled enough to travel with us to the other parks, which is why one of our options includes providing a beginning camp and an advanced camp. We are suggesting that Commission choose one of three options that I'm going to give to you, and that the associate resolution is made for the fees that apply to that camp if chosen. So I'll go over the three options that we've come up with for the camps. Option one that I have for you today is to keep the camp structure the same, but increase the price from $215 to $275 per week. That will allow our minimum enrollment to drop down to 9 rather than 12. So we have more of a window of opportunity to succeed and have the camp take place without having to turn kids away to go find another place. Option two is to keep the fee the same, not raise it at all, but eliminate some of the program options so that if you're uncomfortable with raising fees at this point in time, we can still lower our minimum enrollment down to 9, but keep the camp going at the same rate. And the program options that we're suggesting that get eliminated with this one is the swimming day. So we won't go on Fridays to the swimming pool. And then the other part of that is that we would ask the parents to pay for their theme park admission. So it wouldn't be included in their overall registration. It would be paid for separately. And if a parent didn't want to pay for that or couldn't afford to pay for it, then we would have staff back at the skate park to watch their children. So the children would still have care. They'd still be able to participate. They'd still be able to skate. They just wouldn't go on the excursion that one day. And then the last option is a bigger one. We're planning, or we're presenting, that we eliminate the existing traveling skate camp and create 2 new skate camps. So we would have a beginning and an intermediate advanced skate camp. The beginning would be called the Groms Skate Camp, and Groms is a skating term for a beginner. The proposed fee for that would be $225 per week from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. The minimum on that camp would be 7 kids, and we could actually go all the way up to 28 with that camp because it would be at the skate park site, so we wouldn't have to rent as many vans throughout the week in order to take the kids places. We do plan on going on 2 field trips with that camp, one to the theme park and then one to swimming, but the rest of the week they'd be at the skate park and they'd receive lessons. So they'd learn skateboarding skills that would help to promote them up to a higher level further down in the summer. And then at the exact same time, we would offer an advanced skate camp called the Shredders. And Shredders is a term for an advanced skater. We're proposing that one is $325 a week, and the minimum enrollment would also be 7. And this camp, I know it's pretty much the same as option 1, but the fee is higher. And the reason for that is that we want to have a lower enrollment. We think that if we're offering 2 camps at the same time, we may lose kids, and so we want to have a lower enrollment for it, minimum enrollment, so that we have a higher likelihood of taking place. And with that camp, they would travel to all of the other skate park camps, they'd go to the theme park, and they'd go swimming. So it would be very similar to what's happening right now, but with a much lower enrollment, half, so that we would be able to operate. Any of these options would result in a small to moderate profit increase in the enterprise fund. It's not a huge monetary increase. The purpose of this is more to lower that enrollment and allow the camp to happen than to actually make more money. And we respectfully recommend that you select one of the options provided and then approve any changes in fees if applicable. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Any questions, commissioners?
I can see that you do a lot, and it's very important that you have attendant or staff in there because of the danger, how dangerous is this sports. And I like your suggestions, mostly the third one, the beginner and the advanced one, because you give a chance to everyone to participate. My only worry here is, how about if a family cannot afford it, or if they have 2 kids and it's kind of hard on them? Do we have type of scholarship or kind of discount structure for them?
At this point, the department does not have a scholarship structure, and I'll turn it over to Onig. I know he has a better answer.
President Wu, members of the commission, at this point, we don't have a scholarship structure. We're currently researching the possibility of having a scholarship policy. Hopefully within the next 6 to 9 months, we'll come back to commission with a report where we want to see what other cities are doing in terms of scholarship policies. But what we've done in the past is we've given discounts with the approval of the director to groups that are CDBG funded through the city, that are CDBG funded for the participants that are CDBG funded, like such as Door of Hope or Ascensia. If there's any other nonprofits that need the services, then we'll provide them with a scholarship or a waiver of fees for our camps.
How many kids do we have in this situation do we encounter?
We haven't experienced it at the travel skate camp, and I believe that's mostly because it really is a specialty camp. The fees are already higher than all of our other skate camps or of our other day camps, and we do offer low-fee day camp options for children whose parents are working and need childcare, but can't necessarily afford the more enriched activities. So we do have some camps at both Pacific and I believe Maple Park has a low-fee camp.
Yeah, our day camp fees are pretty low compared to our neighboring cities. The lowest fee, $75 per week between 9 and 4, Monday through Friday. So our lowest is between $75 and $85 a week per child, which is very low compared to City of LA, Burbank, or Pasadena, which is over $150, $75 per week.
My concern that a kid with a difficult financial situation, maybe we can find them sponsors, individual sponsors from the community, so they'll be able to continue this.
Yes, President, will members of the commission, from time to time that will happen. From time to time we will have an individual or a nonprofit organization to sponsor participants. If a family cannot afford the skate camp, as Mr. Bulanikin explained, we do have other non-skate summer day camp programs that are much more affordable, or they can continue to use the skate park on a daily basis. It just won't be structured under the traveling skate camp model. But we will continue to seek and accept referrals from our nonprofit organizations, and we could advertise the availability of case-by-case scholarships in our advertising. So we could definitely do that.
How do we pay the theme parks? Are there discounted for us, discount prices for us on the theme parks?
Yeah, Commissioner Calvine, the theme parks, we usually get the day camp or group discounts. For example, Magic Mountain can be $55 to get and $54.99, and we'll get a discount, $25 per person. And the more tickets you buy, then we get free adult tickets for the camp counselors. So we do get group discounts for our theme parks. But in the past couple of years, what we've seen is the theme parks are increasing their prices, such as Knott's Berry Farm, Raging Waters, all the less expensive theme parks that we are taking our kids to are getting more expensive. We don't go to Disneyland, which is $125 a ticket. We keep it very reasonable for the kids.
Okay.
Commissioner Michaels?
Do you have any indication or metrics as far as projected attendance if we have the Groms and the Shredders camp, as far as where our current enrollment might split between the two?
Yes, my guess, and it is a little bit more of a guess, we haven't done any surveys with the public to have any more firm knowledge, but based on the registrations that we had and the people that we turned away this past year, I'm hoping that we would get probably 7 to 10 children in the beginning skate camp for this first summer. I don't anticipate that it will be a huge number just because it's still, it's a brand new program. We haven't offered it before. And then we will probably be close to our minimum of 7, maybe to 9 students in the intermediate advanced Shredders camp. The reason I think both numbers will be lower is that we're going to split that. I think there are a lot of children who are right now registering for the traveling skate camp, but they're on the young end. Parents are very wary of the kids going on these big field trips. They're not exactly, they put them in because their kids are begging to go into it, but they're not necessarily a strong enough skater to do well. And it's not that it's unsafe for them at the traveling skate camps, but they don't get to enjoy it as much because their skill level just isn't high enough to really enjoy these parks that they're unfamiliar with. So I do think that we'll probably be on the minimum side of both camps to start off, but I do anticipate that over the years, if this option is selected, that our numbers will grow, especially in the beginning camp. I think that we'll start capturing a lot of the younger kids who are starting to learn how to skate and are really getting excited about skating in that 7 to 9-year-old age range, and that we'll be capturing those kids into the beginning camp, and then we'll continue to get the older kids in that older camp, and 10 to 12 kids on average per week. They're not large camps. They are smaller camps because of the specialized focus on skating. So our audience is narrower. We're really only capturing the kids at the skate parks that are interested.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Have we ever thought to gather some input from the attendants, the people that were attending this past summer? Do we have any contact information where if we were to tell them, hey, we're visiting these options, and what will be the most favorable one for you, and then just kind of gather their input? Have we been able to do that?
We did it mostly through the suggestions from the staff that came out of the camp. The idea for separating the camps out, especially into option 3, which tends to be the more favorable option when talking to our staff, that came from the parents and from talking with other camps. We haven't done an actual survey with the participants. We certainly have the ability to do so. We have contact information on all of the parents. We could put together an email mailing list or a flyer that we could send out to everyone. It is a possibility. But the ideas for this came mostly from the feedback we received from parents. I personally spoke to the parents who were turned away from the camp, and they were very interested in having some kind of beginner camp that started up. So most of it came from word of mouth.
Well, being that this is supposed to become effective November 19th, it would probably be difficult for us to get that data at this point.
We could certainly bring it back to you if that's the direction that the commission would like to go. We gave plenty of time this time because we knew that we would. We don't have to be in a rush, is what I'm trying to say, because the camp doesn't start until July. So we do have a little bit more time. So if that's something you'd like us to do, we can certainly come back with that.
And then the fee structure of $225 and $325, was that something that we based on just numbers, or?
Those are strictly based on the financials of meeting of the minimum enrollments, and knowing what the other cities are charging, knowing that we're still on the low end of it compared to other cities. We felt comfortable making those recommended fees, but they're straight numbers. So
we didn't get any parent input as to see if that's a number they feel comfortable with?
No, we didn't.
Yes, President Wu, none of these proposals are based on a formal survey, but more on the personal observations and personal feedback received by our skate attendants that work at the skate park and that are there every day and have conversations with families. I know one of my experiences over the years is sometimes when you're doing program development and you propose a program, a model, and you ask families or participants if they would be willing to enroll in this program and pay this amount, and then you implement the program and you reach back out to those same parents or families. They don't always follow through because it's easy to say it. It's another thing to actually do it. That's not to say that it wouldn't be a good idea to try to get a more formal feedback to make sure that we are on the right track. The last thing we want to do is be spinning our wheels and propose something that we end up realizing is out of reach for these families. So maybe that's a good idea. Maybe what we do is we go back and do a more formal type of a survey, and then come back with results to the commission, and then make a final decision at that time. It is a pretty big jump, but if it's for the advanced skaters, and it can guarantee that once we advertise a skate camp, there will be a skate camp because now we can do it with lower numbers. Maybe that would be enough for the families to be agreeable to the increase in the fee for the advanced skaters. And I think it'll be a great feature for the beginner skaters because they will now have the option to participate in the skate camp, which they currently are shut out from because of their skill level. So it's up to you, Mr. President.
Any thoughts, commissioners?
I'd be agreeable towards looking at the third option of having the two separate camps and developing that as a market direction. If we wanted to make a direction or make a motion to give the staff the direction to see if that marketing initiative would generate interest. If the camp won't open until July, we do have time, and we can start that as a marketing initiative, see what interest there is, be able to look at the fee structure, and then come back for a formal approval of that. I think that would let the commission have a little more information on what we think would be feasible, but I do like the idea of having the two different groups, increasing the enrollment, and particularly starting with the beginners, which would then most likely feed into the advanced camp in years to come.
I see your point, but I think they have to have a base to start working on it. Like if we are approving resolution 1, 2, or 3, whichever we approve, they have a base to work on and report to us.
President Wu, we can approve option 3. We can commit to doing our marketing far in advance of the summer and the beginning of what would be the beginning of the skate camp. If we're not getting very many signups or enrollments, we will come back to the commission to lower the fees, and that would be based on actual feedback from the parents, real feedback, and make an adjustment. The last thing we want to do is develop a program model and no one's participating. So we could commit to doing that.
Okay.
So I will move it. I will move the resolution number 3.
Okay.
Is it now?
Just to clarify, you're making a motion to approve the structure for option number 3.
Right.
Correct?
Right,
But not
which is the grooms, which is the advanced and the beginners.
Okay, but not the resolution, which is associated with fees, approval of fees. Is that correct?
Iris, could you explain that further?
Sure. The motion is to approve a particular structure for the camp. So that would be option 1, 2, or 3, structure only.
No, that's the resolution, I believe, right?
The resolution is actually for approval of the fees. So if you look at the attachments to the report, there's one that's at the top. It says to be used if option number 1 is approved, and the second one says to be used if option number 3 is approved. But that's approving only the fees. The structure is approved via a motion.
So we need a motion and we need a resolution?
If they are ready to approve fees at this time, then we would need the resolution as well. If they are only ready to approve the structure and want us to look into the fees, then only a motion.
My understanding was that the commission is interested in moving the motion for option 3 and the resolution, the corresponding resolution for the fees related to option 3.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. Would you like to move them together?
Yes, please.
So we have a motion?
I'll
Have a second?
Okay. Commissioner Sasatrian is absent. Fuad absent. Kalfayan?
Yes.
Michaels?
Yes.
President Wu?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is item 7B, Verdugo Woodlands Dad's Club building rental fees. At 1, resolution establishing fees to be charged by the Verdugo Woodlands Dad's Club, Inc. for the rental of the Verdugo Woodlands Dad's Club building.
Okay, President Wu, members of the commission. I got a short PowerPoint for the commission. The Verdugo Woodlands Dance Club building, the Dance Club was founded in 1954. The building itself was built in 57 at 1728 Kenyatta Boulevard. We just executed a new 5-year lease with the Dance Club, effective September 1st, 2015. The Dance Club is located at 1728 Kenyatta. It's between Bay Permin Little League Field and Verdugo Woodlands Elementary School. The floor plan, basically there's a main assembly area with a stage and a dance floor, and we have multiple storage closets, and we have 2 restrooms and also a kitchen. The community uses the group for private parties and community use. We have, not us, the Dance Club uses and rents the building out for sports meetings, Boy Scout meetings, art and acting classes, dances, baptisms, weddings, birthdays, and trade shows, and also the Verdugo Woodlands Elementary after-school programs. They're proposing a rental fee of $200 an hour for commercial use and $150 an hour for private parties and $100 an hour for nonprofits. I'm going to go back. For the community use and private parties, basically part of the contract that we have, the lease that has been signed, it states that the fees need to be brought to commission and approved. The revenues generated are kept by the Dance Club, and those revenues are used to upkeep the facility, basically minor maintenance, maintenance and operation. So they use that money to upkeep the building. So the revenues generated will be used for facilities, maintenance, and so on. Are there any questions regarding?
How many square foot is the hall?
The hall, I believe, is 3,200 square feet.
And we're charging $1,000 a month fee?
$1,000 a year for the lease. So the property itself, the land is owned by the city, but the building was built by the Dance Club.
So the building is owned by the Dance Club. We just own the property?
Yes.
For another 5 years?
Another 5 years, yes. They've been there since 57.
And then what happens?
We'll renew it another 5 years to the Dance Club.
So we committed to them, is that what this, because they have built the building?
Yes, if I could attempt to add a little bit more background, Commissioner Wu and members of the commission. Evidently, in the 1950s, there was a proposal by the Dance Club to the city of Glendale that if the city of Glendale were to lease property to the Dance Club, they would build a clubhouse or a community building, a community center, which would support the Woodlands Elementary School and their activities and also serve as a community asset. And that would be a facility that would be available for other community meetings or events by nonprofit organizations, as well as private events. So since 1957, the city has had an agreement with the Dance Club to lease this building that was built by the Dance Club for these community purposes. So it was never intended by the city to use this community building for commercial ventures or commercial gain or to as a revenue generator. And so the $1,000 that is charged will only cover our admin fee for administering this lease agreement. The Dance Club agrees to pay for all operational and maintenance charges associated with the building, so they do that. And so for doing that, they are allowed under their lease to rent the building just like the city would for events and to charge the rental fees. And the rental fees that they are proposing are consistent and compatible with the rental fees that we would be charging for our community buildings if we were running them. And the lease also requires that whatever fees the Dad's Club does charge for renting the community building needs to be approved by the commission. So we're bringing that fee schedule to the commission. But it's a long-standing lease that was started a very long time ago, and the city just renewed it for another 5-year term.
What would happen if we don't renew it?
Well, we would have to visit that when it expires in 5 years. We'd have to make a report to the city council and see if they're interested in continuing it.
We don't get any benefits to our funds from here except $1,000 a year.
We only get, Commissioner Kaufman, we only get $1,000 a year, but the Dad's Club makes the facility available for our programs during the summer, especially for our summer day camp program at Verdugo Park. So the facility is available for our kids Monday through Friday between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. So when we have a heat wave or it's really hot, instead of the kids, hanging out in the park, we go and use the Dad's Club and use their air-conditioned facilities and so on.
Without any charge?
No charge at all. No charge at all.
Okay.
Is there any history as far as what the previous fee structures were, or is the lease agreement the same, just so that we have a little bit of the understanding of background and history?
The lease agreement, the last 10 years they've been paying, the last 5 years they've been paying $750 a year, and the previous 5 years they've been paying $500. So it's been going up $250 every 5 years from the records that we have.
And is their rental structure, the pricing the same, or is it increasing as well?
It's fairly the same. And like Jess had mentioned, it is comparable to our community center rentals. So we're not competing with them, and they're not competing with us.
Do you have any data as to how often we have used that facility, such as when we have a heat wave where we are able to use that facility to house our youth, or any other city-sponsored events over the course of over a year?
It's basically our day camp program, our Verdugo day camp program. And the facility is open to, Verdugo Woodlands Elementary School for their after-school classes and after-school program.
So how often would you say that is throughout the course of the year?
For the Verdugo Woodlands? On a daily basis.
Okay.
Daily.
So the Woodland Elementary has access to that on a daily basis?
On a daily basis.
And how often do we use that facility?
Probably 2 to 3 times a week during the summer.
2 to 3 times
2
a
to
week
3
during
times
summer.
a week, yeah.
And then that's once again free of charge too?
On a free of charge for about 9 to 10 weeks, depending on our summer schedule.
Thank you. Anything else? I think a request. So for this thing that's an action item, do we need a motion or?
Yes, you would need a motion. What you would be approving is a resolution establishing the fees as proposed.
Commissioners?
I'd make that motion.
Have a motion, second?
I will second it.
Commissioners Asatrin and Fodder absent. Kalfayan?
Yes.
Michaels?
Yes.
President Wu.
Yes. Next item, please.
Item 8, reports information only at 8 Glendale Continuum of Care update.
Good afternoon, President Wu, members of the Parks Commission staff. My name is Yvette Sanvalian. Today, I will be giving you an update on our Glendale Continuum of Care funding application. The City of Glendale, since 1996, has been recipient of the federal funds to oversee and implement homeless programming in the City of Glendale. The Glendale Community Services and Parks Department is responsible for the administration and grant management of the funding and works closely with the nonprofit organizations that provide services to the homeless participants. The city of Glendale is one of its only 3 continuums in the city of Los Angeles and County, which is considered as its own continuum. That's a designation received from the federal government, which allows for the city to nationally compete for their federal dollars and be able to implement homeless programs for the city of Glendale. The other 2 continuums separate from the Los Angeles city and county is city of Pasadena and city of Long Beach. The third continuum is the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority that oversees cities and counties within their region. That's part of that's designated as the continuum of care. Under the federal government, the continuum of care funding has been reauthorized last year, and several requirements of how to implement homeless programs have significantly changed. The Glendale Homeless Coalition was a formally approved body of advocates and members in the city of Glendale who led the efforts of homeless services and provided direction to staff for homeless services. The new requirements allows the city of Glendale to have a continuum of care board, which Iris mentioned. There is a board meeting scheduled for the city of Glendale on October 28th in regards to receiving this report for the continuum of care and directing staff in regards to submission of funding application to the federal government. Our continuum of care board members have to represent specific subpopulations or target populations, and that's as such were recommended and appointed by the members of the Glendale Continuum of Care participants or advocates. We have Michelle Roberts, who's the chair of the Glendale Continuum of Care Board, and she and the YWCA represents the domestic violence service providers. We have Lieutenant John Gilkerson, who is the vice chair of our Continuum of Care Board, representing the Glendale Police Department and the coordination with the police department and all the various divisions within the city of Glendale regarding coordination with homeless services and discharge from our law enforcement to programming. We have Jessica Gallardo, who represents Pacific Clinics and Health Start with the family programming. We have Bruce Nelson from the Glendale Adventist Medical Center representing the hospitals, which is one of the key partners required to be part of the Glendale Continuum of Care Board. Diana Hale, who is a representative from the Glendale Unified School District, which is one of the requirements to have a school liaison who coordinates homeless services with children who may be homeless and making sure that they're accessing services within the continuum or within the city limits that they are staying in the shelters. Our final 2 board members are Jerry Rodriguez, representing from Didi Hirsch, Mental Health Services and Case Management, and Gail Farnsworth, she is our homeless alumni, who's one of which is a requirement to have either a homeless person or an alumni on the Homeless Continuum of Care Board in order to implement the board successfully. The COC board has several responsibilities, and one of the main critical responsibilities for the board is to provide staff direction in terms of how to develop new programs as it relates to gaps in services, interview and review and evaluate the proposals that has been submitted on behalf of the nonprofits for the city of Glendale and its specific programming that it's applicable for. And so the city of Glendale will be receiving, or has actually received on Friday, 13 renewal applications from the various nonprofit organizations for funding in the total of $2.26 million, which is on the last page of your report. And the various programming includes permanent housing for chronically homeless individuals. These are all ongoing programs that are funded through the continuum of care. And in order to successfully maintain the funding, the organizations and the city needs to demonstrate proper performance and insurance participants retain and maintain their housing. They continue to engage in case management, access mental health services, and receive services. The current trend from HUD is permanent supportive housing programs, and sort of gearing away from all of the non-essential services programming. And so the COC board will be interviewing all the applicants on October 28 and has a difficult position in terms of ranking the projects, as the federal government has required the continuum of care boards to allocate the projects in two different tiers. And what that means is, in Tier 1, the City of Glendale is eligible to put projects in the amount of $2.2 million, for the sake of conversation, in Tier 1, which means all of the renewals that we have summing up to $2.2 million, only about $2 million can be tiered on and ranked under Tier 1. And those are projects that will be guaranteed for funding for our 2015 application that will be operated during fiscal year 16-17. The Tier 2 projects will be any projects within the continuum that is a renewal project that is either poor performing or not at full capacity in terms of their available units for rent, or not serving good capacity in terms of what was originally obligated and confirmed with the government that this particular project will serve this number of units and this number of persons with set number of performance indicators. So the COC board will be ranking one or two or several projects in Tier 2 that will sum up to $355,000. Any project, either partial allocation from an existing renewal or a full project that is placed in Tier 2, is not guaranteed for HUD funding. That means if and when the City of Glendale and her HUD does not fund Tier 2 projects, the agency will be able to either sustain the funding themselves or look for funding elsewhere in order to continue to provide those services in the City of Glendale. There are two other projects eligible for applying under the Continuum of Care application. Is one that's called the Continuum of Care Planning Project. And the Continuum of Care Planning Project basically supports the continuum to be sure to implement strategies that are best practices and working with the nonprofits to ensure performance are met, ensure outcomes are met. And one of the requirements of the Continuum of Care Planning Project is to complete an annual homeless count that includes an annual assessment of unsheltered clients in the City of Glendale. Currently, the HUD requirement is biannual homeless needs assessment. However, if the city will be applying for planning project funding, the city needs to ensure to HUD that the city will continue to conduct an annual homeless count of unsheltered and sheltered population within the City of Glendale. And that typically happens the last week of every year, the last week of January every year. We go out and conduct a needs assessment of homeless services, homeless individuals in the community. The second new project that we'll be applying for is called Glendale Housing First. The city is proposing to submit an application to the federal government to serve 20 chronically homeless individuals. These are 20 unsheltered individuals within our community that need housing and case management services. Bulk of the funding will support the actual cost of the rents for the participants. The city will work with 20 different landlords to identify the units, secure the housing, place the clients, provide ongoing case management. If we are successful in receiving this funding from the federal government, we will be operating this project next year in October. The total funding for the application that we will be submitting is about $2.7 million, cumulatively between Tier 1, Tier 2, and any new projects. And historically, the City of Glendale has been successful in obtaining any new projects funding and securing the funding that is typically ranked in Tier 1 or Tier 2. The city will... City of Glendale, our staff will go and make a presentation for City Council on November 17th for final approval from City Council, and our funding application to the federal government is due on November 20th. I didn't go into the details of all of the specifics in terms of all the services that we provide within our continuum of care, but that's in between pages 3 and 5 in the report. And if you have any specific questions on any specific project or any of my presentation, I would be happy to answer them right now.
Thank you.
I have a question. When we take a homeless, we find them. We have a community homeless outside on the roads that they refuse to come to the houses, right? Is that a...
Commissioner Kalafian, President Wu, we do have some homeless participants who are what we call service resistant, and those are the chronically homeless individuals. So oftentimes our street outreach, which is part of Essentia, will continue to provide services on the street, and we continue to engage with them in order for them to agree to participate in the program. However, because most of the challenge is to find affordable housing and funding for housing programs, there is a process to identifying those that are ready to go into housing and those that are still a little bit taking time to decide whether they're ready for the housing program. However, if we have a unit available, most of our clients are ready to engage and participate in the program.
How long is the process to take them from the streets and to get them to permanent housing?
President, I apologize, Commissioner Kalafian. The process varies depending on the type of person we're dealing with. We've had situations where we've had chronically homeless individuals who have been on the streets for more than 5 to 10 years. They may have some substance abuse or mental health challenges and don't trust the programs. That may have taken a year. We've had a case where we've had to work with the client for 6 years, and ultimately they're in permanent housing and are successfully graduating from the program. There's times where clients are ready and the units are ready. We're able to place people in housing within a month. It just depends on the type of client we're working with in the community and how long we've been engaging with the individual in our community.
So President Wu, members of the commission, if I could add, there are a lot of pieces that have to come together and fit together. We could have outreach workers that have been making contact with a homeless individual in downtown Glendale for 5 years. And then suddenly they decide, okay, I think I'm ready to go to your center and let you give me referrals and place me into housing. And if we are fortunate enough that we happen to have a housing unit available at that time, it could be relatively quickly. Or if there is not a housing unit available at that time, it could take a few more months. Then sometimes when that happens, they fall off because it wasn't quick enough, and then we go back out and we try again. And when I say we, it's the nonprofit service providers that we work with. So it's not like it's city staff. What Yvette does is she is the coordinator of services for the entire city of Glendale, and she works with about 7, 8, or 9 different nonprofit organizations, and with this policy board, the Continuum of Care Committee, to oversee the city's efforts in homeless programs. And so every year we submit our funding application to HUD, and so this is the time of year where we're putting it together, and we'll be getting approval from the City Council. So we wanted to report out to the Commission on the status of that program. And because it represents a lot of work and a big part of what we do, it's one of our main human service missions in our department, and so we just wanted to give you a report on that.
It's a difficult mission.
Yeah.
Challenging.
And President Wu, members of the commission, if I may take one more minute to bring your attention to what I was discussing with the homeless count. Our 2016 homeless count is right around the corner, a couple months from now. We will be needing volunteers to support the efforts of us going out in the community on January 27 to conduct surveys of homeless individuals going from midnight to morning. I am looking for volunteers, and anyone who's interested in learning what it really takes to survey a client and learn to get to know someone personally. If you are able to volunteer or know of any organization that would be interested, please have them contact our office at 818-548-3720. This flyer has been available at our website as well as City of Glendale, on City of Glendale's website. And this is one of the requirements of the federal government that we must conduct on an annual basis in order to justify homeless programming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you say from midnight to 6 a.m.? Or?
Yes.
Okay, so you need adult volunteers.
Yes, we need adult volunteers that will coordinate with our Glendale Police Department and the rest of our staff who's experienced working with the population.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Okay, next is item 8B, monthly activity reports at 1 Park Services.
Yes, good afternoon, President Wu, members of the Commission. Again, I'd like to present to you the monthly activity report for the month of September. We completed 242 work orders, of which 175 were completed by the groundskeepers, 5 were completed by a pesticide applicator, and 62 irrigation repair, for a total labor hours of 661. The details of those work orders are attached, and if you have any questions about any of them, I will attempt to answer them for you. But what I have is to highlight for you a couple of minor projects we completed in the field in the month of September. First was preparing for what could be a severe rainfall season, and this is at the sports complex. If you notice the perimeter of sports complex, there is a wash, and typically over time the dirt, debris just comes in and fills it up, and what you have is an entire debris basin here. It completely gets filled with dirt and mud, and our crews every year preparing for the rainy season get in here and try and get it all cleared out. This is what it was before. And tractors and several loads of dump trucks being filled and taken out of here. Ultimately, you see on the far right over here, it is not a very good picture, but this is what the drains look like now. We're ready at the sports complex and several other sites. We've probably shown you some at Emerald Isle and a couple of the facilities that abut the open space. We tend to prepare annually for what could be winter season and rains coming down. So the sports complex is ready for what we can get, hopefully not too bad. The Casa Adobe, as you know, we've several of our facilities, we've started getting into the mulching program where we clean up a planter bed or we plant new plants. We use mulch to try and keep the moisture, minimize the use of water, and also it adds a nice little texture and look to the site. This is the Casa Adobe Museum House right in front, the planter beds, completed on both sides, as well as the exterior of the Casa Adobe, some shrub beds that were trimmed down to be able to maintain their height. And there we go. This is the perimeter outside, mulched and finalized. At the Fire Station 21, we also do support our different departments, our colleagues in other departments. There was one planter bed that was cleaned out some time back by a contractor, yet the roots were in place. We were asked to give them assistance, so our guys went in our crews, cleared off all the roots of the former trees and shrubs that were in there, removed everything, and in this situation, gravel rock was what we used to beautify it. It's an option to go gravel versus mulch, and in this case, since we're not going to have any planting at this location and the irrigation has been shut off, the fire department opted to go with the gravel, and it is a very nice clean look now, and again, reducing water consumption. Harvard Mini Park, as has been the case, we were tagged with graffiti, not as bad as in the past, but just several areas, and staff gets in there as soon as we see it. Within about 24 hours to 48 hours max, we get it cleared out, and this is the attempt to have it removed. At Maple Park, there were several dead trees and dying trees that our staff had to deal with. This was one at the perimeter, and this was dead completely and had to be removed and grinded down to its stump. And then we had branches that are too low and or dying branches that could be hazardous to the public. Our staff goes in and cleans them out and removes the branch. And lastly, we had some trees that just didn't make it. You see those little sticks over there, they're dead. They're supposed to be trees. We do take them out and make room for a new tree planting process going forward through the Arbor Day program. And here they are removed. At Riverwalk, we did some, as a matter of fact, we followed up on some of the cleaning that Mark Sturtevant and their crews do, the volunteer groups that come in and clean out. We have very heavy overgrowth on weeds at this facility. Very difficult to control because we do not use any chemicals here. It's mostly manual labor. So the volunteers give us great assistance to get this area cleaned up. And our staff came through this last round and assisted in providing mulch and mulching the areas that they had cleaned. This way, the attempt of adding the mulch will also reduce the weeds from propping back up, at the speed that they normally would, and it will extend the cleanup efforts for quite some time, hopefully. This is just the front entrance of the Riverwalk, and we're hoping to carry this on all the way through the rest of the Riverwalk. This is the mid-center right in front of ABC Disney. Again, they're just the planter beds that the weeds were removed. And this is just outside the horse ring arena, right behind it, as you can see. This is an area where the horses could come in, and I guess they can park the horses over there. It isn't typically heavily used by the public, but it's a lot cleaner with the mulch. Yes, I got that, park the horses. And again, another planter bed in the mid-range. And that would be the only project we'd like to highlight. As you note, our staff have been working up front at City Hall as part of the City Hall's re-landscaping at the front entrance. And we still have the ball fields planned for November. Hopefully we can get some of that work in before the heavy rainfall starts. Pelinconi Pacific Sports Complex will be some of the projects we'll be conducting in the next coming months.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Next is 8B2, Recreation and Community Services.
Okay, President Wu, members of the commission, one thing I want to highlight for this month is the cruise night that was held on August 29th, 2015, cruise night. The committee started planning for the event December 2014. We sent out 300 sponsorship package to local businesses in Glendale. We had employees from 6 city departments that were part of the cruise night committee. We met once a month. We had employees from the Parks Department, Police Department, Fire Department, Management Services, Public Works, and Economic Development. And our contract with Mr. Rock and Roll, Brian Byrne, was signed in December. And Brian Byrne handled the entertainment, marketing, and promotion of the event. The event was held on the 29th of August, 5:30 to 10:30, on Brand between Milford and Broadway. The main stage was at Brand and Milford, and we went ahead and closed Brand 8:30 a.m. For setup. Last year was 9 a.m., but we needed that extra half hour to close up, and we closed up 5 blocks. Set up the stage, set up for our vendor booths and so on, just so we have enough time to allow the cars to come in starting at 1 o'clock, our early entries. We had 320 classic cars on display. Last year was 240. This year was 320. The increase was due to the reduction in cruise night fees. Last year was $45 a vehicle. We dropped it down to $35. We came to commission, I believe it was last October, November, reducing the fees. So the reduction in fees helped us out. We had live entertainment, the Chantes, Smooth Sounds of Santana, and Jumping Jack Flash. There were 3 bands this year. Last year we had 2. All bands were a hit. We had a lot of people in front of the stage dancing and just, partying. We did have our fireworks spectacular. This was the second time this year. It was behind main stage on the 500 block of Brand Boulevard. Special thanks to our fire department, risk management, and the police department for allowing this to happen, because we start with insurance and all the requirements, contacting the property managers for all 4 locations. We start in January to pull permits. So it's a pretty big lot of work for 3.5 minutes, but it was well worth it. Fiscal impact, like I mentioned earlier in the meeting, Cruise Night was funded fully by corporate and community sponsorships. We collected a total of $43,050 in sponsorships car registration fees, $10,720, and in-kind sponsorships, $120,000. In-kind sponsorships were free advertising in the Tolucan Times, Glendale News Press, Crescendo Valley Weekly, LA Times, Daily News. We had a lot of radio spots on KRF 101, 980 The Beast. Power 106 had a couple radio spots a week before the event, Pasadena Weekly. So Mr. Rock and Roll handled all the in-kind sponsorships. So with his connections in the business, he was disc jockey at KRF for 35 years. So he knows all the people in the entertainment industry that will provide us free marketing. The total cost for the event was $47,760. This included rescheduling. As we all know, that we had to reschedule the event. Initially, the event was supposed to be on July 18th, but we got rained out the day of the event, so we moved it to August 29th. There were some minor charges that we had to pay for, such as staffing, rescheduling of the rental equipment, the bathrooms, the porta potties. So both with rescheduling and the entire event cost $47,760. If we didn't have to reschedule, we would have saved $4,700. So it cost me $4,700 to reschedule. I want to thank all our sponsors. This slide shows all the sponsors that donated $1,500 and above. Downtown Glendale Association was a naming sponsor. They donated $15,000. Economic Development Corporation was a presented by sponsor. They donated $10,000. Rest of the organizations donated $1,500. The Brand Boulevard of Cars, GPOA, Water and Power, Harley Davidson, Forest Lawn, Automobile Club of Southern California, and Disney ABC. We also, this year, we also had a $500 per booth package. If a business wants to come in, give us $500 and set up and market their programs, we went ahead and offered that option too. So this year we had LA Credit Union, Valvoline Oil, California Credit Union, LA Injury Group, Mathnasium Marketing Solutions. We got a lot of small, we got more mom and pop businesses that wanted to opt in for the $500. So this was a pretty big hit compared to last year. Last year our smallest package was the $1,500. And then our in-kind sponsors, Glendale News Press, CV Weekly, Burbank Leader, Tolucan Times, Daily News, all the radios. Super King donated 700 bottles of water. Porto's Bakery is another sponsor. They sponsored the desserts for the VIP reception, and Carousel Catering also sponsored the VIP reception. The recommendations for next year, we like to start marketing and social media campaign in March. We do want to have a sponsor cutoff date. It's really challenging once when we have Daily News, Glendale News Press. Once when they advertise the event for us, I get a lot of calls. How can I sponsor? How can I sponsor? How can I sponsor? Well, that advertising takes place in July, mid-July, a couple weeks before the event. We would like to have a sponsor cutoff date, but if we have last-minute sponsors, we're more than happy to accommodate them. I got one sponsor, day before the event wanted to set up, and I said, yeah, come on by, give me a check, and we're good to go. So we're pretty lenient, but we would like to have a sponsor cutoff date. This year, we like to contact car club websites to promote the event. I know I went on a few Facebook pages and car club pages, and we did promote the event, but I want to hit all the car clubs in Southern California. And then another thing that I want to do this year that we haven't done in the past is open 100 registration spots for car imports between 1980 through 2005. We got a lot of requests to have their imports, such as the Hondas, the Datsuns, the Mitsubishis, the lowrider racing vehicles, and we denied them because we said this is a classic car show. So this year we like to open up for 100 vehicles. I mentioned this to the board, Brand Boulevard of Cars board, and they were really excited about it. And one of the board members said something like SEMA show. And I said, yeah, something like the SEMA show. So maybe we can get new businesses that would like to promote their business as sponsorships, like LA Rims or Platinum Motorsports and the racing car culture / the classic car culture. So we're thinking maybe North Brand we can have 100 vehicles just for the car imports, and then South Brand we can have the classic car show. So it's something to think about. I want to open up to the I want to open this up to the Cruise Night Committee, and we can decide. But as of now, we do have a lot of people that are interested in having their imports registered for this event. And if anyone is interested in sponsoring for 2016 Cruise Night, they can give me a call at 548-3248. And next year's Cruise Night will be on July 16th, if it doesn't rain. Another thing that I want to announce, I know Iris announced, is October 31st. We're going to have our One Glendale After School Youth Sports Program Championship at Pacific Park. The first game is at 10 o'clock. The championship game will be at 11:30. And I'd like to invite the commissioners and also the public to come see the games. We have 4 schools competing, 4 elementary schools, and week by week it's getting very competitive. And the kids are really excited about the championship game.
Great, thank you. Anything? Next item, please.
Next is 8B3, Trails and Open Space.
Yes, President Wu, members of the commission, very quickly, just as a reminder for backdrop, we do have over 5,000 acres of open space, in addition to 286 acres of developed land. With regard to our open space and trails programming, on September 5th, we had a Riverwalk workday. We had 11 members of the community join us for 3 hours of work along the banks of the river. Then on Saturday, September 19th, was our 3rd Saturday Wilderness Workday in Dugmagian Park from 8 a.m. until noon, and we had 15 community members join us for that. Then on October 10th, we had 30 local residents attend the Bird Walk on the River Walk event, which is always very popular. And then just to mention that on November 7th, we are having a special event at the Dugmagian barn, the Le Messonnier barn, to celebrate the 100th anniversary of construction of the barn building, with a winemaking program sponsored by the La Crescenta Historical Society. And that concludes the Open Space and Trails report.
Thank you.
Next is 8B4, Workforce Development.
And by way of introduction, President Wu, members of the Commission, this is Workforce Development. It represents another one of our human service programs. As you know, it is essentially an employment and training program for services provided at our Verdugo Job Center down at 1255 South Central Avenue, where we provide job training opportunities, job counseling, job bulletin boards, and enrollment into training programs for those that are qualified. And we also provide services for businesses. Robert Mejia is the acting administrator for Workforce Development, and so he will give you a quick update on their current activities.
Hey, President Wu, members of the Commission, Mr. Duran, and department staff. Good afternoon. I have 2 brief reports for Workforce Development that you'll find in your packet. And the first one is AB 86, it's an adult education block grant program that was funded by the state of California approximately 2 years ago. Basically, those funds are being distributed or have been distributed around the state of California to encourage collaboration by the educational systems in localities to figure out how to create more refined and more effective career pathway programs. The goal being to get adults who need basic education and literacy services on the right path to high-wage, high-skilled jobs in their communities. So the City of Glendale, on behalf of the Verdugo Workforce Investment Board, received approximately $115,000 under that funding from Glendale Community College last year. And so those funds have been used to provide labor market research and educational research as well for the Glendale Community College District. Glendale Community College District, along with Glendale Unified School District, are the primary partners in that consortium. But it's really a collection of workforce development entities in the Verdugo region that make up the consortium. So recently, under that, a plan was developed and submitted to the state of California, along with other partnerships around the state. And as a result, Glendale Community College received $985,000 for implementation of the consortium plan. Currently, the consortium is preparing to meet again to set priorities for the use of those funds and determine how they want to make their resource allocations. So we expect to receive at least another $115,000 for our agency under those funds to continue the program implementation. The second report I have is meant as a report on about $65,000 that we expect to receive from the LA Community College District. They applied for and received a $15 million regional consortium grant a few months ago. So we have a relatively small role in that grant, but I think it's an important one. It's going to help us continue to develop career pathway activities in the Verdugo region, and we expect to be able to include students in the Glendale Unified School District as well as those in Burbank Unified School District in career exploration and career awareness activities in cooperation with Los Angeles Valley College, perhaps Glendale Community College, and other colleges and high schools that are participating in that grant. And that concludes my report. I'll answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all we had on the agenda. Item 9 is adjournment.
Thank you, staff. Thank you, commissioners. Meeting adjourned.